Hey guys, I just wanted to make a quick video on how to install and use Bankrobber. I think it's much better than the SP404 wave converter provided by Roland. The wave converter doesn't give you a whole lot of control over the samples that you're putting in, and it's a little bit clunky to use, so I found this alternative, and I don't see a lot of documentation on it, I don't see a lot of videos, and it was a little difficult to find the installer. So I just wanted to make this for anybody else who's interested in using it. So a few of my favorite things about Bankrobber is one, you can save and load sets. So if I click open right here, you'll see that I have a couple kits. If I click on drum kit, I already have 8 samples of drums, so I don't have to go searching for different drum samples when I'm trying to make a pad bank if I don't want to. And then I leave these 4 up here open for the actual melodic samples that I'll be using. Which brings me to the second thing that I like, which is when you're loading samples, you can save these locations over here. So if you keep all your samples in the same place, then you can save that directory and always have it navigate you there. Then when you select your next sample, it's going to take you right back to the same folder, which makes it a lot quicker to load samples into Bankrobber. The third thing that I really like about Bankrobber is you can actually adjust these mark points right here from the software. Versus doing it on your SP404, you can't see anything and you can only change it so much with the knobs, and then you end up trying to time it by hitting the pad, and it doesn't always work. So this is a really good way, in my opinion, to get the full sample onto the 404, but also just trim it down to what you need, and that way you can go back and change it later if you want to. And the fourth thing I really like about Bankrobber is it has this suggested BPM up here. So Bankrobber will try to figure out what the BPM of the sample that you put in is, and a lot of times if you're exporting them from your DAW, then you'll already know what the BPM is, so you can type it in there. And that way on your 404, if you are to record in or change the BPM or the time on the sample, you're going to have an accurate base to go off of. So let's first take a look on how to install Bankrobber. Alright, so there's a couple things that we have to do to install Bankrobber, the first of which is install Adobe Air. I'll put the link for that in the description. Just select your operating system. There should only be one version. Download it and install it. This is going to be the framework for Bankrobber. Then go to the link in the description to download the actual installer for Bankrobber. And once you've downloaded the installer, the next step is very important. You're going to go down here to the bottom right click on your clock, adjust date and time, turn set time automatically to off, and then you're going to want to change the date and time travel all the way back to 2014. Once you've done that, double click the installer, click install, click continue, and once you've installed Bankrobber, you can change your date back to normal. Bankrobber will then open up to a screen that's going to look something like this. You can click locate if your SD card is already inserted, and click select folder. This is going to load everything that's already on your SD card if you have anything on there, and show it to you in this bank layout view. Now I'm going to show you guys the best way to export your samples from your DAW to get them ready for Bankrobber and then to go on your SP404. So I have 8 samples here that are loaded on 8 separate tracks. That's important because we're going to be exporting these all as stems. So once you've dragged in your samples to different tracks, you can add effects on there if you want to put RC20 or if you want to put reverb or EQ a sample, you can do that. Then once you're done, I like to click my first track, hold shift, and click my last track. Then go to file and export, because if you don't do that, your only option is to export all tracks individually. And if you do that, you're going to get the return tracks and you're going to get the master, and we don't need those. So you can select selected tracks only, and then go down to convert to mono. That way we can play more samples at one time. I like to normalize to make sure everything's around the same volume. Then we can adjust it to taste on the SP404, and then your sample rate should be at 44.1. Once you've done that, you can click export, select where you want to export them. The way Ableton renames stuff is it's going to take whatever name you give it, it's going to give it a number, and then it's just going to name it whatever the sample is called, so it really doesn't matter what you name it. And now all your samples have been exported to the folder. Now we can come back over here to Bankrobber and import the samples that we just made. So I'll click the plus up here to put my melodic samples in. This is the folder that I exported them to. You'll see the sample 1. I'll put my chops up here. And you'll notice the suggested BPM is showing 105, which was the BPM of the Ableton project. So I'll go to each one of these, and adjust that BPM. Now I'll put my drum samples in. Alright, so now that my drum samples are in, we'll go take a look at them, and you'll notice that the waveform ends right here, but the sample goes all the way out to here. So we want to trim that down so that pad isn't playing a 2-bar loop for a small kick. So we're just going to go up here to the mark and just drag it back to the end of the waveform, and we'll do that for all of our drums. So now we've placed all of our drum samples at the correct length, and we've adjusted the BPM on our melodic samples, so we're ready to export this to our card now. So before you do that, you can take a look at what we saw earlier, where you can actually save this set. If these are just drums and you want to use this as a template for future pad banks, then you can enter a bank name right here, click save, and then load it to any bank that you want to. But we're just going to go ahead and export this to card. So you'll click this button right here, and now all of your samples are going to be on your card, including those marks that you put on the drums. On your 404, you can either delete the marks or keep them. It doesn't really matter at that point. So now let's hop over and look at the 404 with the samples that we just put on. Now if we come out and take a look at our SP404, we'll see all the pads that we set up in Bankrobber have been loaded into our SP404 the way we set them up. So it's really cool if you take a look at the pads that we marked. It's going to have that mark right there, which means that it's still editable on the device. So if you change your mind about the length of a sample or you want to remove the mark completely, you have the option to do that. So that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you guys learned something from this video. I really enjoy Bankrobber. It's kind of reignited my passion for actually making things on the SP404 versus just using it as an effects unit. So I hope it does the same for you. I hope it improves your workflow, and I hope you make some really cool stuff with it.